Todd Howard says Bethesda's trying to increase our output with Elder Scrolls and Fallout because we don't want to wait that long either. That's fair.
Well, good, he understands.
Right? This is Rich Stanton over at PC Gamer. It's been a decade since Fallout 4. Wow, man, has it really been that long?
Holy blast from the past. I can't believe it's been that long.
Yeah, well, get ready, because it's also been 13 years since the Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim.
Holy.
Yep. Since then, Bethesda hasn't been sitting on its hands, with Fallout 76 releasing in 2018, and of course the studio's main focus for several years being Starfield. But fans could occasionally be forgiven for wondering just how long these things take. More from a stance of thinking about how much more time one has on the ball of the dust that mere entitlement. What the? I don't know, that's a weird setup, but either way.
Get lost, Rich.
I was just like, okay, we'll see where this goes. Man, sometimes. We know the Elder Scrolls 6 is in development, so while there's no details beyond a teaser image, there's at least a reason to be cheerful. But there's nothing about Fallout 5 whatsoever, beyond a confirmation it exists, with Bethesda's Emily recently warning players it takes time to make great stuff. Certainly does, Scott. Todd Howard recently gave an interview to Kind of Funny Games discussing all sorts of other Bethesda games, with the focus understandably more on the Fallout side after the Amazon show, and offered players some scour in this regard. He thinks the studio needs to speed things up too. Quote, "If I didn't make these games," end quote, said Howard, quote, "I would just be playing them all the time. Even this weekend, I was jumping between Starfield and Fallout 76 and Fallout 4. That's how I spent my weekend playing games. And they do take a long time. So I don't think one of the things that we're focused on here is obviously making sure they're of the highest quality, but also finding ways to increase our output, because we don't want to wait that long either. That's never our plan, but we want to make sure we get it right." End quote. Seriously though, even though most optimistic aren't expecting the Elder Scrolls 6 before 2026. Not even close, man.
No,
and that's,
no way.
Yeah, that's going on the market 15 years between entries. If that kind of form continued, I'm genuinely going to be near retirement before Elder Scrolls 7 is even a twinkle in Todd's eye, and 6 feet under before Elder Scrolls 8. Well, this is
how I feel about Fallout.
Bit of a dark turn in this conversation, Scott. It's one, yeah, it's an irritation. I get it. It is what it is, right? This is one of the minor revelations from Howard's interview, where he also mentioned warning his dear old mom about the racier elements of Fallout TV show, and the warily confirmed one more time that no, Bethesda doesn't hate New Vegas at all. Scott, games take time, man. And when you make them the size of the scope that Bethesda does, these things aren't pumped out in a year, or 2, or 3, or 4.
No, that is part of what makes them special. We don't want them rushed either. But I have to believe there's a middle ground somewhere. How many people work on these games? How many teams
Hundreds.
are there? Are they split? Is it? I have to imagine it's hundreds. But when it comes to something, a large series like Call of Duty, again, a lot of recycled assets is quite different. But
3 teams.
the idea that there's 3 teams, 3 separate companies at this point making these games.
Yeah.
Surely we could get something together with the funding of Xbox and Bethesda behind you. Surely we can get something going here, multiple teams or whatever. I don't want to pull in everybody and anybody to make these games though, and that's where it gets tough, because they are trusted with that craft.
Yeah. Well, you don't want to pull a Ubisoft, right? Like Ubisoft, when you see Assassin's Creed, it's made by like 27 studios. It's just like, no. That's why they pump it out in 2 years, right? They have so many people to be able to work on so many things all at once. But that is not a small company. But at the same time, they have several projects on the go, and it just takes a bit of time to make some of these things. And Elder Scrolls, when it drops, whatever the next entry is going to be titled, it's going to be huge. Like, that's the thing. People are still playing Skyrim to this day, right? We're 13 years later. People are still finding new things. Dude, I often go back to Red Dead. people are still posting about Red Dead 2 and the new stuff they're finding in that. And that game is old now too at this point, right? But when you get into Skyrim, dude, people still, they have a fandom, they have a following, they have a love and appreciation for Skyrim. And you're gonna get that with the next Elder Scrolls game. It's not like we're short on things to play right now. There's always something new to play. Xbox has a lot in the roadmap for this year for us to get into as well. So patience is not my strong virtue in the slightest. And I'm well aware of that. But I'll also wait for a good game too. How many times we see games come out and they're broken? Dude, there isn't a game I know that launches these days that isn't just somewhere in a bit of a bug or a glitch or a, like, nothing's just completely polished. A game to the scope.
Bethesda gets away with that.
Man, and they shouldn't. Dude, they shouldn't. Nobody else does. So why are we letting Bethesda skate by on it, right? So I think Todd Howard also mentioned in that interview that Starfield is their most polished game. And I think for the most part, it is. There's definitely some bugs and things I ran into when I first reviewed the game. And I'm sure that some of that's been ironed out. Now we're on a numerous, like, 10th patch or whatever we're at right now. So it is moving along. But at the same time, man, can't we just get a polished game? But when you get to this scope, this big, how many testers do you get? And they can't find it all, right? That's the other side of it too. They're not going to find everything. And all of a sudden now it takes one player to go, what if I did this, and a combination of that and that? And all of a sudden it just broke everything, right? Or you fall through the world, or some glitch other thing. Things that the developers themselves haven't even anticipated. When I was talking with the team over on Outriders, right? People Can Fly. They were amazed at how many people thought of things that they never even dreamed of, right? And Bethesda's no different. I'm sure there are things now that they're just going, holy, I didn't even think of that happening.
There's one example of that specifically I just told my brother about, where you can grab a basket and put it on top of their head in the store, and that allows you to steal everything. It's something that developers didn't think of, but it's genius, really. But it's something that you have to throw a lot of QA testers at that for a long time to figure something like that out. But yeah, I'm a little puzzled by it. Todd Howard can mention Obsidian, does not hate New Vegas. How about a New Vegas 2, Todd? We throw Obsidian the New Vegas line, they can continue that on, and we just keep Bethesda moving as usual. How about that?
There's an opportunity. I think there's definitely an opportunity, and there's got to be a conversation there somehow, right? There has to be a conversation there. So I don't know. We'll see, but it's, man, these games are massive, and they don't get pumped out anymore in like 4 years. It takes 5, 6, 7 years to get. Dude, how long did it take us to get Starfield, right? And we're in the same boat now, waiting for Elder Scrolls. I don't know how they speed that up. I know AI is starting to come into the conversation a lot more these days. That is one of the opportunities, maybe for coding, maybe for art, even though I hate the idea of that happening, because I'd rather have a person created the entire thing. It just doesn't happen anymore. Not at all. There's so many studios now working with AI to help speed up the process. And maybe that's how we get Elder Scrolls and Fallout 5 sooner. Time will tell. But you should check out everything else we do over at ITGTV.com. We're there. You can keep up to date with all of our socials and all of our shows.